man Aeneas, of whom Virgil sung, forced by fate at honey Juno's unreeling hate. Exhaled and exiled, left my father's shore, I bore along labors both by sea and in that Trojan war. All this before I won the Latin realm and built a glorious and destined town.
Rome, if any nation deserves the privilege of claiming a divine ancestry, that nation is our own. And we declare that Mars himself, our first parent and father of Romulus, the man who founded our city, all the nations of the world might accept it as readily as they accept Rome's imperial dominion.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Famous Men of Rome. Please allow me, the legendary hero Aeneas,
and me, the famous historian Livy,
to take you on a journey in 3 parts. We will chart the Roman Age of Kings,
the glory of the Republic,
and the power of the Western Empire.
Please enjoy the performance.
I am the descendant of brave Aeneas, who sailed a great sea in search of a new home, a new Troy, a country to one day rule the world. I founded Rome. My name is Romulus. Welcome one, welcome all, come to my city for refuge. Be you wanderer, fugitive, or refugee, you shall find a home in this city. Rome is the city worthy of your desires, O admirable Latin race. We will be the forebearers of truly honorable, majestic, and brave men. You have chosen to pursue greatness, and for that you're truly praiseworthy. The glory of our city will be incomparable to all other cities. Today you are laying the foundation of victory, dignity, peace, and life.
Thank you, great Romulus. We are forever your servants, soldiers, and loyal companions.
But tell us, where shall we find good wives to marry? None will come to us because we are known as criminals and vagrants. Who on earth will marry us?
What do we need that we cannot steal from our neighbors? We will invite our neighbors to Sabines to a festival with games and feasting. At the sound of the horn, every man take a woman and ride back to Rome.
And this they did. Causing King Tautius of the Sabines to make war. But he and Romulus, with the grace of the Sabine woman, were able to make peace before much harm was done. Rome prospered, and a senate was formed to govern it. Romulus was the first king of what would become a grand civilization.
Rome became a civilization that not only acted grandly, but looked grand. Many splendid buildings were erected by the great King Tarquin.
I am Tarquin, and to anyone with the name Tarquin, power is the breath of life. To some, our name is an ill omen, dangerous to liberty. But I did many great things. Here you see my racetrack, the Circus Maximus.
After King Tarquin, a man named Servius Tullius ruled Rome with goodness and gentleness. But another man, a son of Tarquin, plotted against Servius Tullius. His name was Tarquin the Proud.
This impostor Servius Tullius will not stand in my way any longer. I shall be king over his dead body.
Ugh! So it was. Tarquin did as he said. Servius Tullius was killed. Tarquin the Proud became king. He would be the last king of Rome since he was such a cruel tyrant.
One of his sons, named Sextus, insulted a young lady of the royal court named Lucretia. She was so ashamed that she plunged a dagger into her heart. At this outrage, a leader arose to defy the tyranny of Sextus and Tarquin the Proud. His name was Junius Brutus.
By this girl's blood, none were chased till the tyrant wronged her. And by the gods, I swear that with sword and fire and whatever else can lend strength to my arm, I will pursue Lucius Tarquin the Proud, his wicked wife, and all his children, and never again will let them or any other man be king in Rome.
We will not suffer one man to rule Rome. Down with Tarquin the tyrant! No more kings!
Junius Brutus was given as splendid a funeral as those early days of the Republic could afford, but an even greater tribute to him was the nation's sorrow, of which the most poignant expression was given to him by the women of Rome who mourned him for a year as a father. It was their special tribute to his fierce championship of a woman's honor.
Thus the age of kings ended. The people had suffered no single man to rule Rome. Instead, they put their faith in the rule of the Senate. But Rome's ousted King Tarquin would not go down without a fight. He joined forces with Lars Porsena, king of Clusium, to try to take back his throne. Porsena and his army marched to Rome and there encountered some difficulties.
The only way for the Etruscans to enter our city is by crossing the Sublician Bridge. Consul, what shall we do?
We must cut down the bridge. It is the only way to save our city. As many as can, begin dismantling the bridge.
The Etruscans are in sight! We are running out of time!
If only someone could hold them off while we finish tearing down the bridge.
Who could do that? A whole army against one man?
Consul, give me 2 good men, and I will defend the bridge and hold the enemy at bay.
Three men to hold back thousands?
We can easily defeat 3 women. The city will be ours.
Oh!
Spurius, Titus, the bridge is about to fall. Run back to the other side, and I will stay and defend it.
The bridge is down, Horatius.
Round turned he, as not deigning those craven ranks to see. Not spake to Lars Porsena, to Sextus not spake he. But he saw on Palatinus the white porch of his home, and he spake to the noble river that rolls by the towers of Rome.
O Tiber, Father Tiber, to whom ye Romans pray, a Roman's life, a Roman's arms, take thou in charge this day.
So he spake, and speaking sheathed the good sword by his side, and with his harness on his back plunged headlong into tide.
When I emerged onto dry earth, the leaders of Rome were there to greet me, and even Lars Porsena prays for my safety were answered. With shouts, cries, and weeping, I emerged
I returned home through the river gate, borne on the shoulders of crowds.
Horatius was well rewarded for his bravery and had a statue erected in his honor. Porsena decided to keep his army on the other side of the Tiber. His plan was to besiege Rome, preventing food from being sent in, thus forcing the Romans to surrender. But there was one thing Porsena had not accounted for: Gaius Mucius.
I've devised a way to save our city. I am going to march right into the Etruscan camp, find Porsena, and kill him. That should put an end to this siege.
Here is your pay. Go tell your troops to prepare for guard duty at the river. Distribute this money to your men and report back to me.
Oh no, he's killed the secretary! Who are you? Why have you done this?
I am a Roman citizen. I came here to kill you because you are an enemy of Rome. I have failed, but there are others coming who will not fail. Your life will be in constant danger, Lars Porsena, and you will be killed when you least expect it.
I shall burn you to death if you do not tell me at once all of Rome's plans to kill me.
Behold, how little we Romans care for pain when it is to defend our country.
I'm amazed. This man's heart is fearless and cannot be bound. Set him free.
In return for your kindness, I now tell you of my own free will that, not under threat, know that 300 young Roman men have pledged an oath to kill me, to kill you. The lot fell first to me. I have failed, but there are others coming until Rome is finally free of you.
Porsena was so frightened at these words that he immediately sent messengers to make peace.
Peace did not last. War broke open with the Aequians to the east. The Romans were easily winning. However, in a fair retreat during one battle, the Aequians lured some of the Roman horsemen into a narrow ravine. It was a trap. One horseman did manage to escape. He returned to Rome to inform the Senate of the dire situation.
We were following the Aequians in pursuit when they led us into a ravine. They barricaded the exits and most of the army was trapped. The Aequians are surrounding Rome's horsemen at the tops of the hills. There is a little grass for the horses, sparing water, and not much food. If we don't act quickly, they will die.
For a while, the Senate saw a little hope. But then, one senator spoke up.
There is only one man who can save us. Let us go to Cincinnatus.
And so they did. Cincinnatus shall tell you the rest of the story.
When the senators came to find me, I was plowing my fields. Since Rome needed me, I left my plow and gathered faithful men for my army. Before the sun set that evening, we marched to the hills where the Romans were trapped. In the quiet stillness of dawn, we formed ranks around the Aequians. It was now they who were trapped. They fought desperately, but in vain. Rome was victorious again. I chose to spare their lives, but not without them passing under the yoke. joy of my countrymen was so great, they wanted to make me king. I was crowned with a laurel wreath and paraded into the city. But I knew my role, so I gave up my power and went back to farming.
When the Roman Republic was under a great threat, they appointed a dictator to have supreme power, but only for as long as it took to secure Rome's safety. Our next famous Roman is Camillus. Camillus was a great soldier and was made dictator over Rome in a time of great danger. But he ran into trouble on one occasion. Camillus was accused by leaders of being greedy with the spoils of war. Such a crime was very serious and it went to trial. Seeing a trial before the tribunal as a disgrace, he chose a life of exile. As he passed out of Rome's gates, he prayed the gods would do something so terrible that the Romans would be forced to call for his return. My prayer was answered. The Romans were invaded by the Gauls. The Gauls swooped down into Italy, defeating all Rome's armies along the way. Most of the Romans deserted the city, leaving it wide open for the Gauls to pillage. They destroyed most of the city, but could not drive out a small band of Roman senators and fighters from their stronghold in the capital. Meanwhile, the people who fled sought me out, and as I had prayed, they pleaded for me to return in order to deliver them from this disaster. I arrived just in time. The chief of the Gauls, Brennus, was demanding the Senate to pay him gold in order to leave them alone. This is what I told him. We Romans defend our country not with gold but with steel. And so, it was not gold that saved Rome that day, but the sword of Camillus.
The Roman Republic grew in strength and became engaged in a series of wars with the North African city of Carthage. Rome's greatest threat during these Punic Wars was from Hannibal, the great general of Carthage. He traveled thousands of miles through Hispania and over the great Italian Alps. Rome's only hope was the great general Scipio Africanus.
When Carthage sought to conquer Rome a second time, they sent Hannibal across the Alps with war elephants to crush our army. His brother, Hasdrubal, was the first to see my sword, as I repelled him from Italia. Hannibal also witnessed its cold gleam, as it drove back his elephants to madness. I gave the short sword, the gladius, to my fellow Romans to pierce the ranks of our enemies for as long as Rome would wield it.
Romans began to get lazy under the protection that their armies provided for them. There were even periods of peace with Carthage, but not all Romans trusted their North African rivals.
Delendo es Carthago. I am Senator Cato, and in my opinion, Carthage must be destroyed. I felt so strongly about the destruction of Carthage that I ended every single speech I ever gave in the Senate with those very words. Delendo es Carthago. I lived during a time when Romans were losing sight of what really mattered. We were growing fat and lazy. We spent too much money on things we didn't really need, and it was stealing from our strength as a nation. I chose to live a different life. I lived by the old frugality. I ate plain food, drank cheap wine, and had very few servants. I was made censor, and with my newfound power, I fought against frivolity and waste. People do not need to ride around in carriages. They can walk. I levied taxes against items Romans held dear, like fancy furniture and other non-essential items, like jewelry. Delendo es Carthago.
The military might of Rome grew, and with it grew the power and popularity of army generals. Leaders like Julius Caesar and Pompey the Great made alliances to solidify the control of the republic.
I am the great Julius Caesar. I led armies to conquer Hispania and Gaul, and wrote about these wars in a text that would be translated by Latin school students for generations.
The whole of Gaul is divided into 3 parts, one of which the Belgae inhabit. Stand up against Rome! The Aquitanian other.
Defend our fatherland!
And the third, a people who in their own language are called Celts, but in ours Gauls.
I am the king of great warriors.
Pompey was a great leader in my day, and I, the great Julius Caesar, made an alliance with him. But I would share power for only so long. Pompey came from the nobility, the upper class, but I was a man of the people, and they loved me. My greatest ambition was to rule Rome, only Pompey stood in my way. On one fateful day, my army waited at the edge of Italy on the far side of the river Rubicon. Pompey denied me entrance to Rome. Either I would disband my army and give up my ambition, or I would defy Pompey and cross the river. I chose to cross the Rubicon. The die has been cast.
Caesar marched into Italy without the slightest challenge. He crossed the Rubicon, violating Roman laws, prohibiting Roman armies inside their own borders. Even so, he was celebrated by the people. And that power went to his head.
All the while, the Senate was planning their revenge.
It must be by his death, and for my part, I know no personal cause to spurn at him, but for the general, he would be crowned. How that might change his nature, there's the question. And therefore, think him as a serpent's egg, which hatched, would as his kind grow mischievous, and kill him in the shell.
On the Ides of March, Caesar was in the Senate pontificating about his greatness.
So in the world 'tis furnished well with men, and men are but flesh and blood and apprehensive. Yet in the number I do know but one, that unassailable holds his rank, unshaked of motion, and that I am he. Let me a little show it.
O Caesar,
Hence, wilt thou lift up Olympus?
Great Caesar!
Doth not Brutus bootless kneel?
Speak hands for me.
Et tu, Brute? Then fall, Caesar.
peace, freedom, and liberty!
After the assassination of Julius Caesar, there was one man who denounced his murders. His name was Mark Antony.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. This deed shall be avenged. We will not let Caesar's death be in vain. No, I will use it to my advantage. It is Mark Antony who will rule Rome now. Come, let us find the rest of these conspirators. Yes, and bring them to justice.
Like Pompey and Caesar before, Antony made an alliance with Caesar's descendant Octavius. But it would not last long.
I am Gaius Julius Caesar, Octavius, the great-nephew of Julius Caesar. I was destined to be Caesar's heir, and my former ally Mark Antony was not going to stop me. Our fleets were battering off the coast of Actium in Greece. Suddenly, in the heat of the battle, Cleopatra, the queen of Egypt, and Antony's companion, suddenly pulled her silver oars to flee. Antony chased after her, disgracefully abandoning his soldiers. I, Octavius, was now without rival. I quickly rose to supreme power as Emperor Caesar Augustus, bringing peace and order. My reign saw the flourishing of the arts, the contentment among the common people, and the birth of the Christ. It was the beginning of a great Roman peace, the Pax Romana.
The emperors who succeeded Augustus were powerful and intelligent, but they were only occasionally good. The moral decay of Rome was often typified by the rule of Nero. Under this evil man, the Christian church saw great persecution.
Christians, a strange lot, believing some man called Jesus, who died as our Lord. Well, I showed them my lordship. One night in Rome, flames went up all over the city. I cannot help but be reminded of Troy and its fall. It inspired me to sing and play my harp. Afterwards, I was blamed for starting the fire. So I had the Christians blamed. They were put to death in many ways. Some even said I was cruel. Some even pitied the Christians. But I never deserved what happened to me. Why? I have done so many things to bring beauty and art to Rome, but I was not appreciated. When conspirators came against me, I fled and had to fall upon my own sword. But an artist the world lost that day.
Years passed, and Rome found itself being ruled by several different so-called empires who vied for the emperor. Constantine was one of them. On the day before the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, he was praying. God sent Constantine a vision of a cross of light in the heavens at midday with an inscription telling him,
Accordingly, I called on God with earnest prayer and supplications that he would reveal to me who he was and stretch forth his right hand to help me in my present difficulties. One day, when I was thus praying with fervent entreaty, a most marvelous sign appeared to me from heaven. About noon, when the day was already beginning to decline, I saw with my own eyes the trophy of a cross of light in the heavens above the sun, bearing the inscription, "By this sign you shall conquer." At this sight, I myself was struck with amazement, and my whole army also. They followed me on this expedition and witnessed the miracle.
Constantine made Christianity the official religion of the Roman Empire. By then, the empire had been divided between the East and the West, and Constantine moved the government to the east to the city that would be named after him, Constantinople. This division of the empire, along with the new official religion, Christianity, did much to benefit the church in new ways. However, it did not prevent the West from being overrun by the Gauls.
Those who worshiped the old pagan gods blamed this new Christian religion for Rome's fall. In North Africa, the Christian Bishop Augustine famously responded to this accusation. Was it Christianity's fault that Rome had been sacked by the Gauls? No. Rome's own pride and immorality were the source of its trouble, but Christianity offered citizenship in the city of God, where sin is covered by Christ, and where the pride of man is redeemed by the love of God.
Christianity is a religion worthy of your desires, O admirable Roman race, the progeny of Junius Brutus and of Horatius, of Cato and of Augustus. Choose now what you pursue, that your praise may not be in yourself, but in the true God, in whom is no error, incomparably more glorious than Rome, is that heavenly city in which for victory you have truth, for dignity, holiness, for peace, felicity, for life, eternity.